good afternoon, everybody. It is now 5:02 p.m. We will be kicking off the working group on digital equity. And before I start, I want to acknowledge my colleagues. I don't see anybody else. Madam Vice President Tracy Whitfield, thank you for being here with us. And then we have a number of folks in the room, as well as folks on, I don't want to call it TV land, but online on Zoom. So what I'll do, so folks know who's in the room, I think I'm gonna have folks introduce themselves and go around the circle. So I'll start with my gentleman and working group member tonight.
Charlie Knight. I'm just here causing trouble.
Ken Shea from the Law Department.
Andy Doty, CIO of the city.
Kathy Bono, Chief Administrative Finance Officer for the city.
Steve Logan, Acting Controller. Signal DPW Director.
John Delahan, GoNet Speed Government Affairs.
Heidi Mahoney, GoNet Speed Government Affairs.
Tom Perone, Chief Operating Officer, GoNet Speed.
Chris Brooks, Senior Director of Operations at GoNet Speed.
Good to see you, Chris.
GoNet Speed is in the house.
We're in the house. We're representing.
Representing.
And then online, other members from the working group, I see Roberta is online, Mr. Stephen Howard, as well as we have Lindsay Hackett and some other folks. I'm assuming they're with GoNet Speed, Matt Kruger, Ashley Gustafson. Hopefully I didn't butcher your last name, I apologize. And Benjamin Madden and Jeffrey Bruni. Perfect. All right, so we're all here. I think many of folks know that we've been kind of, we've had several meetings with GoNet Speed, both at the council level and at the maintenance and development meeting. Today is the first time that we're hearing you guys in front of the working group, but nonetheless, we still want to connect with you guys in advance of our regular meeting. So I will kick it off to GoNet Speed.
Okay, well, we're here and excited about the partnership. This is a big area that we've been pursuing for a long time, but not our first. We think that these things are most successful when we're partnering with the town or city for a number of reasons. And there's been some dialogue back and forth, you know, about some of the underground builds that we want to work with you guys to achieve. We've already have 5,000 passings that we're offering service to in the area, in the city. And there's another 10,000 that we hope to have over the next month or two, pending the approvals for the underground. I know there's been some discussions about schedules and phases. In general, we have a formula that we use to identify what's a good candidate to build. Those formulas heavily depend on densities and some other factors. But in every city, we pick a spot and we start and we continue to expand throughout. In this scenario, because we've had some dialogue going back and forth, and I think we've distributed some of the results of that, which is the one Tracy's looking at, not the red one. So,
Not this one.
This
not that
The one
one.
under that.
Oh, this is the letter that was
Yeah,
attached.
yes.
On the email.
So that's the summary of a little bit of back and forth, some of the needs of Springfield and some of the concessions and some of the things we're committing to. And I kind of wanted to open it up for questions. I mean, I think our strongest benefit is bringing competition to the area, right? There's the service levels that we're gonna have to compete on. There's prices that we'll have to compete on. customers are gonna have options. If those levels aren't met by either party, there's gonna be consequences for either party. So through the 10 years that we've been doing this, we've always, I mean, you could look at our reviews. You could look at what the customers say about us. They're very happy. Not everything's perfect, but very proud of the company. We try to respond. That's why we're here also. It's important to have the relationship with the city and with the customers to be successful in any business, whether you're making an e-bike or a shirt. You gotta have a good product, but you also have to have good people behind it that are willing to listen and respond to the needs.
Customer service is local?
Customer service is in a lot of different places, Maine, New York.
But they know English as a main language?
Yes, all of
Okay.
the US, yep. And tech
What's
support,
ACP?
that's
Affordable Connectivity Program.
Yeah.
There's a federally funded program.
So whenever those are presented, we always come, we always participate in those as well.
I'm gonna, probably should have done this in the beginning, but from, like I mentioned earlier, this was in the Maintenance and Development Committee. But just a little preface of what the digital working group is. This is a working group of residents from the city of Springfield who, over the last several years, I've been lucky enough to chair this working group over the last year and a half. But they've done a lot of phenomenal work for the last several years under the leadership of our president, Mike Fenton, and former city councilor Jesse Letterman. And Tom, you and I spoke a little bit about some of the things that I brought up and wanted to make sure that I preface this with the work that this working group has done to identify just digital equity gaps. I hate to use that term over, but it's what it is, right? Amongst the city of Springfield. And they did we finalized a report recently this past year that has been years in the making, and it identified several areas in the city that lacked accessibility, affordability, and even education. I like to kind of use those three terms. And so when I heard that GoNet Speed was coming in here, there was excitement, but it was also, okay, what does this mean for this work that this group has been doing? And how do we make sure that whatever is happening here has that lens in mind? And so, some of the pushback that I was giving back was wanting to ensure that we didn't create that gap, make that gap larger. And I know that, and I also want to say this is a private company coming in here, wanting to invest tens of millions of dollars in the city, which, is great for the city in terms of expanding fiber across the city, something that we only currently have in Indian Orchard, as you guys have been building out. And so this dialogue that we've had back and forth is trying to make sure, at least from my end, and some of my colleagues have joined me in terms of making sure that whatever we do, it's the best interest for the city, and not just GoNet Speed, obviously. And so, but we are in this committee, and I also want to acknowledge our president, Councilor Michael Fenton is on. Thank you for being here, President Fenton.
Thank you.
And so we've kind of gone through this back and forth with several discussions between ourselves, GoNet Speed, and the city department heads who have been here, who thankfully you guys have been really part of this process. Andy Doty, Kathy Bono, Chris Signoli, and Tim, who's not here, Tim Sheen as well, amongst many other folks who have been here. And so what we're trying to get to is a point where, GoNet Speed has come to us with a letter of understanding. And there are a number of items in here that I think I'd rather let you kind of highlight, Tom, or Chris, whomever. But before we get there, Chris, sounds like he's very eager to jump in here.
Yeah.
Chris.
Please have patience with me today. I'm not in a good place. Just want to give everybody in this a background of what the city has been doing with GoNet Speed. We met initially, go NetSpeed, and I'll speak for Heidi for a second. Contacted the city in January, February, March of this year to give a presentation to the mayor with regard to what Go NetSpeed wanted to do in the city of Springfield. We met with her in March. Kathy, Andy, myself, and gave us a presentation about the company and what they were planning on doing in the city of Springfield. Applications, and this is what I really want to get across to people. What is in front of the city council tonight is not an approval for a contract, is not an approval for terms, is not an approval for anything. It is for approval to put conduits in the ground. That is it. That is what this approval is for. In, I believe, March and April, applications started to come into the Board of Public Works. That's the starting point for all of this work. And throughout the spring, all of these items came through. And I believe the first applications that came into the city council were in June of this year. To go backwards over the last year, you've probably approved anywhere between 8 and 12 installations for Go NetSpeed around the city. And it may be the wrong term, but they are creating hubs in the city on lots that they have purchased that have all been approved through the city council. Our discussions that we've been going through is exactly what Jose was talking about. And I mentioned on the day that we had our presentation with you, 20 minutes later, I received the final report of the digital equity. So it was kind of, going through this. The DPW, as far as the DPW is concerned with the applications, the proposals that are being put in front of us are absolutely no different than anything else that we've dealt with in the past. Eversource, Springfield Water and Sewer, Eversource Gas, Eversource Electric, Comcast, Verizon, et cetera. And in speaking with Go NetSpeed, from a DPW perspective, we obviously want to know schedule, build out, so we can keep track and at the same time be able to post information that knows that we know what is going on in the city and where they're going to be next. For the simple reason is that I'm sure people are going to be knocking on the city's door wanting to know what's going on with installation as we move forward. The other item in my discussion with them installing conduits in the city of Springfield, they have a requirement to allow us into the conduits. And my discussion with them would be, as they start looking at certain areas, to let them know what we will need for size, location, et cetera. In the middle of a residential neighborhood really doesn't bother me too much. When we get onto the main roads, that's going to be a little bit of a different standpoint. This is just for the residents and for my city council friends. This is now the third meeting that we have had for this. It's been tabled since June, so we are working on 120 days with this sitting in front of the city council, which is important. Correct, Ken?
Yes, it is.
It's very important. So we're running into timeline issues. The applications that are in front of the council tonight are the exact same applications that were in front of the council last time. This is nothing new. As far as there's no new applications coming in is really what I wanted to say. As we move forward over the next year, 2, 3, 4, there will be, not use the word million, but there will be significant other applications that are going to come in as we deal with anything else, Eversource, water and sewer, et cetera, throughout the city. Our discussions with them when we met, I believe it was September 3rd, there was a handout that was presented to us that outlined the company, very, very similar to what was presented to us a number of months ago, and had an updated map of build out in the city, but also had a number of, I'm going to use the word, support items that they wanted to give to the city of Springfield. And that letter was shared with a lot of people, and our comments that we have done as a city went back to them. And really one of the things that we're doing right now is we're installing city fiber around the city. And as an example, they said, you know, they being Go Net Speed, we want to install fiber to your libraries and give you service. Well, we kind of have that, so we don't really need it there, but we might need it in neighborhood association centers or senior centers, and that was the conversation that we have had. So we went through all of the information there. And, you know, one of the items they wanted to donate some devices, which, not to turn them down, we really don't need them. We have hundreds that are distributed throughout the city, and they're all city. And, you know, it's a nice thing that they asked for it. But each of those items that we went through, you know, we provided back to them. We, as the DPW, will oversee the construction of the work that happens. And as I said, it's no different than anybody else's that we're dealing with here. Actually, their conduits are smaller than anything else we've dealt with before. You know, water and sewer, Eversource gas, we're dealing with 8, 10, 12, 18-inch installations. We're talking about inch plus, 2-inch plus on these. And one of the items that I really wanted was just to get an update of where we are. Knowing the way things work in the city of Springfield, residents will be calling us through either DPW or 311 and saying, hey, I want to sign up. And one of the asks that I asked of them is, hey, just give us a fact sheet so that if somebody calls, we can just forward it to the right person, the right number, so that people can get involved. Go Net Speed has online right now, you can sign up. Parts of the city, I'll go with parts of the city, that you can go on, you can pick your service, you can pick, there's phone service, there are different levels that you can do. So from my perspective, from Go Net Speed, I've been very happy with what is being proposed in front of us. From the city side, I very much understand from a digital equity standpoint that we're trying to create as much equity in the city as possible, and we will do that. They will do that over a period of time. I'm not trying to schlep for them, but from a city DPW representative standpoint, they're building out the whole city. We have had discussions in the past about the city doing it. If the city were doing it, we would be doing it the exact same way. We would be building out overhead first, then going underground, getting revenue to be able to fund what we needed to do next. So it is not an issue as far as I'm concerned that we're ignoring certain areas or not going there. It's a methodology, and I hate to use snow. You know, somebody's first and somebody's always last. And the build out that they have proposed, and again, did you circulate that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
In the letter, and also in the document that was submitted, the city map, it has phasing and it has rough timelines for installation. And the timelines, one of the items that they have to deal with is they have to get pole agreements with Verizon and Eversource, and those things we're dealing with it now with Verizon and on our underground work. And I mean, it's been sitting, what, Andy, 6 months, 8 months? You know, we've been sitting stagnant because we don't have those approvals. They're gonna they run into the same problem. Around the city, you've seen a lot of poles being replaced with taller poles. A lot of those are based upon work that you guys have requested and are paying for, correct?
Yep.
So the work's been going on. So from my perspective as a DPW, I am happy with what is being proposed. I'm content with the work that's being proposed here, but I wanted a lot of people to have the background. Over the last few weeks with the discussions that we have, and I've had primarily with Jose and some with Mike as well, I think, and I'll turn it over to the team, to the Go Net Speed team, that the items that we are asking, for the most part, they're complying with. We cannot, and I just want to make everybody aware of this, we can't enter into a contract with them. We can't. It is not a regulated industry. We can't do that. We can come up with an agreement, and I'm going to say a professional agreement of what they're going to do, but the city is not entering into a formal agreement. It is not a regulated utility the way cable is, or gas, or telephone, or electric, not overseen by the DPU, really. So it's a city standpoint of What do we want? And, you know, the build plan, as we talked about last time, was a little bit of a concern. They are coming in primarily through Ludlow initially. So making the loop through the city, for lack of a better term, is going to get us full build out. If, as I've said before, if the city were gonna do it, we'd probably be doing it the exact same way. We would probably be working out of one Fed. So we would be branching out of State Street. The problem is everything there is underground. So we would probably do some quick underground and then everything above ground in the city. Simply because it's the easiest thing to do, create revenue and be able to create revenue to be able to do all of the underground work. I use as an example, my street, you know, maybe 25, 30 houses. They can tack it up on a pole and get, if we gave them approval, we said to them tomorrow start, they could tack up something on the street, connect to my house in a week. And I hate to say minimal amount of money, but on my street, if you have to go underground, it's probably $500,000 in 6 months. So that's the difference that we're dealing with these two things. So the importance of what they're wanting to do, you know, we understand it. And I think at this point, and I'll turn it over to Tom and to Chris, for their presentation. I am content with what they are offering the city from a DPW perspective, and hopefully the counselors will be as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So you said there's a timeline with this. Where is that?
Oh,
Right there.
yes. Yeah, that's
On
why
that
I
map.
double checked.
Yeah.
On there. It's the same map and it's just up at the top, counselor, it's got some timelines with that.
And then.
Oh, yes, this box
Oh,
here.
I see it now. Yeah, 2030.
Yes.
Through
Yes.
the purple, because the gray, I think, is underground.
A lot of the gray is underground, but a lot of the gray is nothing. When you kind of put a city map on it, it looks a little weird, you know, parks and not just a lot of open space, parks and things like that.
And then you said you're happy with the discussions you had, but it'd be helpful if we had them, right? You said a lot of things that just wasn't clear to me as far as the timing, how long underground takes.
Yep.
Compared to the overground. So
Yep.
those type of details help us make our decisions
Yep.
much better. None of that information was clear. We weren't clear that this whole map was happening. They're just asking for conduits in a certain area, so
Correct.
that will put,
Correct.
like, we have terrible service in East Springfield, Liberty Heights area, like terrible, like, so that put me on edge, like, why are you starting over there? Why not start over here? And so.
I got the same problem.
So it's like, even though I'm citywide, you know, I care about the whole city, but of course I care about where I live as well. But we didn't.
Sound like Chef.
So we didn't have that time frame. It'll take a week, it'll take 6 months. We didn't have any of that information. We did not have this map, or I didn't read the map.
Yep.
One of the two things didn't happen. I can take blame if it was my fault. But like, it's very helpful if we have that level of detail to make
Yep.
an informed decision.
Yep.
I also didn't read or didn't know about these things that were happening, because my whole question was, where are the community benefits? And you guys already spoke about them.
Okay.
So that would have been helpful for me, right?
Mhm.
And then my final point is gonna be, they don't want the laptops and the desktops and all that. Because I know
There's people that does.
that was the Mason Square Library, a great event that they had. The kids were still fighting for spaces to sit, to
Yep.
use like laptops and stuff, so
Mhm.
I don't know that we don't need them, per se, because at those type of events, and it was a kid, family focused,
Yep.
all fest.
Yep.
We could have used a couple more,
Mhm.
you know, so I don't
It
know,
was just on that item,
Mhm.
it was a handful of
it's like 5.
devices, and I know the conversation I had with Andy, it's like, you know, we really want to make, and now you got a security issue. You want to make sure we have enough to hand out with, on a day-to-day basis. There's
Mhm.
events and stuff like that. Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
You know, if the city needed to get more, we could get more, but it was, you know, we were looking at it, it's like, you know, the type of thing, hey, we got 100 of them. Does 5 really make a difference of what we want to do and having to deal with security and stuff like that?
Community,
Yeah,
you know
no,
what I'm
I-
saying? And
I-
maybe
I get
it's
it.
not devices, maybe it's more hot spots that they can bring on.
And that was
Like
kind of a lot of the comments I had here. It's like, you know, hey, if you're going into a senior center, can you create a hotspot there?
Yeah, stuff
And
like
so
that.
people will be able to do it, which we have to a certain extent. I'm gonna say most of the city locations were pretty good with Wi-Fi, but if we can get you know, a little bit better of a backbone in there than what we have. Some of the areas are, I'm gonna use the word in the city is remote, and we're hoping to fix that. And if they can get in there and make it better,
Mhm.
we're happy with that, yes.
So I just wanted to point out what we didn't know.
Yep.
And we missed you at that meeting, Chris. Compared to
I
what.
was having too much fun.
Yeah, I bet, compared to what we know now, so, I just thank you for this level of detail. That's my final.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
No, I just want to say thank you to Chris. Chris, you did a great job detailing a whole lot that's happened. I will say though, in some of that, I don't want to underestimate is not the right word, but the work that the council, including myself, I mean, at one point you guys were talking about building a certain section and, you know, we were pushing them, hey, to do the whole city. They
Yeah.
come back
Oh, yeah.
to say, we will, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but we will do the whole city. So I don't want to make sure that part is lost.
Yep.
You know, on the fight that we've done
Absolutely.
to make sure, because yes, this is not a regulated industry, but you know, it's still folks trying to come into the city and obviously the first one at the apple is gonna get the rest of it. And so I want to make
Get the
sure get the pie, right? And so, so I just want to make sure that there were a number of things that were done in conjunction with yourself, that us as city councilors advocated for, and GoNetSpeed has, you know, come to the table and has worked with us. And I want to make sure I mention that because that there was a little bit of a gap and you guys have been bringing that closer. So I really appreciate the fact that you guys have been willing to come with us and come chat with us and kind of get to a part where we're comfortable.
And that's why I use the phrase partnership, right?
Yeah.
We need the awareness. We need you guys, you know, the community the best. We want to be part of the community, but that's why a lot of the things that we do already are on here. You know, it's to help awareness. We want to be part of the community. We want to host events. We want to host, you know, learning the digital. So when you guys have opportunity for events or doing something at the senior center, we want you to engage us. That's the partner. So we're making an investment as well. We need it to be successful. We need people to know who GoNetSpeed is. So we want to be invited to that. We want to get to know them. But you all are the best source for that. So.
Any other questions?
I just have one more clarifying question because this is something we talked about, and so thank you for your work. Let me give you some of that, on bringing the gap closer, but one more question that I had is, so we were told that if you start the build out, no other company could come in with fiber optics, or is that true, Chris?
They could. Because since it's unregulated, these guys could finish 80% of the city and some other company could say, hey, we want to come in and do the underground. They could. Are they? Probably not. Over the last, year and a half, Andy, we probably been contacted by a handful of people who were interested. We were not interested in doing an RFP, RFQ for the simple reason, and Councilor Delgado was involved. We had meetings with New Bedford.
Yes.
New Bedford. New Bedford put out an RFP. But I hate to say it, RFP, RFQ, but they weren't spending any money. Which was kind of a weird thing because it's like they're putting something out, asking for a vendor to come in and do all this work and sign a contract, but the city wasn't putting any money in, which was kind of an odd thing, which we didn't know about when we first started talking to them. We're talking about, hey, getting installed. And it's like, hey, how much money did you guys put in? Nothing. Like, why would I sign a contract with somebody? So the entities that were interested in that, when we had a couple of meetings, we knew that people were looking in the city. And I'm gonna say, probably about this time last year, Jose, we were in the mayor's office talking about this, and we started having conversation because that was when the draft at the time had come out.
Correct.
With that, and we were going through it. A company could start tomorrow if they so decided. We throughout the city right now probably have, what, 4, 5, 6 different vendors that just have stuff all over the place. You know, Crown Castle is one that you hear about. They got an application in front of us tonight. You know, they do a lot of businesses and things like that. So companies have been doing it. And for the most part, it's been fine. And I was talking with the gentleman from Go Net Speed today. My big problem with, I'm gonna use the word fly-by-nighters that install stuff all over the place. A lot of them don't register with DigSafe. So when stuff all of a sudden underground gets ripped up, and this was a discussion we had when we were talking about the city getting fiber in the ground. You know, you tear out an electric line, not that you want to do it, you know, you put it back together, you put a wire nut on it, life is good. You rip out a fiber line, you know, it's not that easy to fix. And a lot of the stuff that we were talking about with the city stuff that we're doing is, hey, who's gonna be responsible for that? Making sure it gets marked out. Now, our underground stuff, we're able to use Verizon, so we're doubling up on that. But if we put new stuff in, Crown Castle, and not to pick on them by any stretch of the imagination, they'll install a conduit, or an entity will install a conduit, and then they'll lease out the space to somebody else to put fiber in it. So who really owns it, you know? So we do run into that problem, and that becomes a big issue when we had the water main break, how many years ago at Main and Bridge? You know, the fiber was everywhere. It's like, who owns this? Who owns this? Who owns this? And after about a week, you go, just cut it, we'll find out. The second you cut it. You got fiber running adjacent to the old parking garage at Mass Mutual Center when they were doing the excavation or doing the tear down. And it was like, after 2 or 3 months, we just said, cut it. And all of a sudden you cut it, and it's like the company comes out and says, you cut our fiber. Yeah. You weren't registered with DigSafe, so we're not gonna chase you around. So that became a big deal. And I know we had a conversation with it today just to make sure that as they have stuff installed in the city, that it gets marked out properly. Because, you know, you tear out, you know, one of these little things where they're putting in 200 feet of conduit, it rips out, all of a sudden the neighborhood doesn't have fiber. And I'm sure we'll hear about it.
Yeah.
Sure
And
you'll hear about it.
to your original
Thank you for
question.
that long
Yeah.
explanation. Is it a monopoly or not?
Your original question, though, the comment was made that once somebody comes in,
Mhm.
it's a lot tougher for another company to come in because you're talking about investment dollars. And once a company's in there and they're getting
Customers.
the customers, particularly from the higher median income, which is what you do, right? You're coming in, you're trying to get your revenue so that you can continue to build out other phases. So once one company comes in, it's gonna make another company second guess, well, if they're already going after those areas, we need those areas too to be profitable, to move. That was the.
Oh, so it just kind of like stops them from wanting to come, but
Correct.
it's not.
It's not.
It's harder.
Yeah.
It's if you had a pie and you split a pie 2 ways versus splitting it 5 ways. That said, I'll throw Connecticut very close. There's 4 players in Connecticut. There's Altice, Comcast, Frontier, and Go Net Speed offered to everyone. But what that does, it's like gas stations on a corner. It drives the price down because everyone's trying, which is what you want. You want competition like that. So competition is a good thing. And no, it doesn't stop anybody from coming, but to your point, not as, they would rather go to some place that doesn't have as much competition because they're gonna get more.
It's like a gold rush, right? It's almost like a new industry.
It's like-
It is.
Like casino.
And everybody's-
Council members, excuse me, but a few of us online have our hands up for quite some time.
Ms.
And I
Roberta,
get the impression we're up against time constraints because I keep hearing reference to another meeting.
Yes, this is coming in front of the council.
So could we please,
Go ahead.
yeah, this is Roberta Kilkenny. I'm a member of the working group. I also have taught fully online for 20+ years. And my son in Maryland does fiber optics installations in the interest of transparency. He's very pro fiber optic, but he did raise one concern, which had to do with our climatic conditions here and trees, which often come down during storms, and what that implies for above ground installation. The other question I had, John Dooligan from GoNet Speed on September 15th, he wrote in a letter that the estimate practically doubled, and I'd like to know if that includes additional customers or the same number of customers, but we're seeing a doubling because they're adding additional things to the pricing considerations. The other thing I would like to do, which I think would be helpful to people, is to show a comparison between what the working group was looking at in terms of underserved communities and where GoNet Speed intends to carry out its work. I'm not speaking against GoNet Speed. I'm just reminding us, as we heard at the beginning, that the priority of the working group has to do with digital equity. So if I could please just share this. It's taking a moment. I'm sorry, I'm getting a message that you're seeing my screen, but I'm not seeing what you're seeing. So,
We're seeing your desktop.
okay, you don't want to see my desktop. That's what happens when you're a teacher. You have 1,000 things open on your desktop. Let me just say, while I'm trying to call up that, okay, hopefully this is it. It's a PowerPoint slide. Okay, you're seeing it now.
Yes.
On the left, the one on the left, the areas that are in that red tint are the parts of Springfield where 25% or more of the households said they had no internet access. This is when the working group started working. So it may be a little dated, but essentially those are the areas that have the least amount of internet access. On the right, this was submitted to us by GoNet Speed. The blue area is where, from my understanding of this map, is where they're now installing, or where they hope to, with immediate thing, install. The area that is the least area of service right now in terms of internet service to people is scheduled on their schedule for 2 years from now. So I think it's important that we look not only at whether or not this is a good business venture, but as the working group, whether or not it addresses the needs that we prioritize in terms of internet service for the people of Springfield. As I said, you know, I'm very much in favor. My son has told me for years now that fiber optics is the way to go. I suspect the people in the blue area will be shifting from one internet service over to fiber optics because it is a superior service. I'm not disputing that. I'm concerned about, you know, that 2 years out, is that a commitment or is that a we would like to do if we find it profitable over the next 2 years? Because I think there's a huge difference between the two things. And if you could just answer, if the GoNet Speed people could answer the question about that doubling of the estimate, whether or not they
Thank you, Roberta.
also add additional customers, and then what the concerns may be about overhead lines, given that we have snow, ice, etc. in the winter, we have trees that come down and they already take out existing utility lines.
Sure.
Thank you, Roberta.
I could address the aerial versus underground first. There's two ways to look at it. You can, and Chris hit on it earlier. First of all, locating the break when it's broken is a lot quicker because you can visually see where the tree is. It's a lot easier to fix because there's slack in there and then you just pull it and down into the truck and you splice together. We can lay it on the ground temporarily. Another thing that often happens is the tree rests on the powers on the top, the comms on the bottom. The tree sits on the power, or even their strand, which is metal that the fiber is overlashed to. It could also sit on that strand and not break. So a lot of times there's a tree down, we don't go out. So I'm not saying it never goes out because it does. But those are the advantages. And, you know, we have numbers, there's really or when things get cut, it's about the same, right? Because one's repaired a little quicker and the other one, when you're digging, you're making quite the mess and you can't always get it there. So that's that. The schedule, Chris touched on this also, is not completely determined by us, right? We put these permits in. And some of the permits in Massachusetts have been over 4.5 years that we're waiting for. And even a situation like this where we're waiting for these underground dips, we're trying to connect 10,000 passings. Right now, they're ready. But if I can't, it's out, not everything's in our control. So that's why we give the dates. Now, another thing that drives priority is the interest, and that's where the partnership works out. If we can drive people to the website to put their address in, we keep track of how many people in what area, and it'll be like a bunch of pins in this map. When we see a lot of pins, we know there's awareness, people know that who we are, they're looking at it for some reason, so that's an incentive that we're gonna get a good return on our investment. So does that answer your questions?
And the 90 million versus the 54.
I didn't see
It
that.
did increase, and that does cover the 5-phase plan that we talked about. So the 54 was originally what we had planned, but
The blue area?
after expanding, into other areas, we increased our budget.
That's where I would say, Chris didn't put that part that we worked with you guys and you guys have exceeded. So don't leave that work out.
And
And that's a fully private investment. We're not asking anybody for anything on that.
Yes. Mr. Howard had his hand up first. So I'm gonna let him speak and then I'll go to you.
Good evening, afternoon, everyone. Stephen Howard.
Can't hear you.
Yeah, speak up.
Okay, let me turn off my camera. That might help. Yes, Stephen Howard, member of the working group. Good evening, afternoon, everyone. 2 questions. One is a yes or no. Are you the ones who are working on Worthington and that's connecting to Florida Street and Bowden Street? The work is ongoing. Is that you?
I don't believe so.
I don't know.
There are a lot of, you want to be clear, there are a lot of fiber optic providers in the city of Springfield. Specifically, one that you alluded to earlier, Crown Castle, provides services to the school system. Okay, so you can't just drive down the street and go, oh, that's fiber, that's got to be donut speed, or it's got to be the city of Springfield. There are probably at least on 2 hands the number of fiber optic providers in the city. So you can't say yes or no to that. You won't know, especially if it's a private company contracting with Verizon or with Eversource. So it could be absolutely, and it could be us for that.
Although if you do have a challenge with somebody who's digging, we've got the DPW director. We can give them that information so we can make sure that we are that.
Okay, my second question.
It's not us. That's the other.
My second, and what I highly recommend that you refer the website to folks, because I was looking at it and I see some very interesting incentives for people with different, accessing different speeds. But coming back to the poles, exactly how will that connection be made with the poles? Could you explain that? Thanks.
Well, the fiber where there's aerial poles, the fiber is attached to the communication space, which is underneath the power. And then it gets routed to a common point or multiple common points to aggregate and then egress to, main cities where we connect with other internet providers. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you, because as Roberto was saying a while ago, with the weather conditions that we have here, and if one tree went down in our driveway a couple of months ago, and seeing that so many trees go down in the area, I think that what happens when connectivity is lost because of down trees or because of icing or whatever else? Thank you.
Well, there is redundancy and it really depends on the location that the accident happens. I will say this is not our first Northeast. I mean, we're all over, we're all over the Northeast, and they're also, the utility poles and the standards to get on those utility poles all factor in ice loading and, the size of the cable and the loading of the poles and guys and all the rest of that stuff. So we serve a lot in the Northeast and pride ourselves in our ability to keep our customers working. Again, competition, we would lose out if we did it in a manner where it wasn't reliable.
For clarification, can I just ask the connection to individual buildings? Is that from the street pole to the building, or will you be putting poles in the backyards?
No, that's using the existing utilities. If your house currently is served with aerial plant, then it will continue to be served aerial. One other point advantage over fiber than copper. Copper has a whole bunch of powered amplifiers on the pole throughout the neighborhood, where fiber doesn't have any of that. It's completely passive. So all you need is power at the house and power where our equipment is. And it's much more reliable because if any of those intermediate amplifiers or repeaters go down with cable, you lose your service.
Just on Roberta's question for you guys, there are some areas in the city where, she asked about poles coming in from the street. There are a number of areas in the city where the poles are behind houses.
Okay.
That they run. Indian Orchard, I know where I live, that was the way that it was.
Lines.
And, I had my telephone electric cable coming in from the back.
Then it would.
And the only problem that I ever had with that is residents like myself who didn't maintain
And
my yard.
and
they-
sometimes dogs are a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Uh,
there's just areas,
You may want
certain
to
areas of
ask
McKnight
the
are like that.
Historic Commission if there's any issue in the historic districts with having all those lines going to people's homes from the street in areas where they're not already overhead lines.
My opinion, no, I don't think that there's any issue with that whatsoever. As far as long as we're connecting in,
We're
same way.
staying in the right of way. We're not doing if there's poles there, we're going on those poles. If the area is served underground, like some of these other spots, we're going underground.
So you're following the similar utility.
Yeah, we're staying in the right of way.
So it's like underground.
That wasn't my question. I'm talking about the appearance of lines going to people's individual buildings in the historic district where those lines, like as was just said, our pole is in the back. Comcast has it in the back. You can't see it from the street.
Right.
What you're talking about is having, if I understood correctly, it's
No,
poles in the street with the overhead.
We're gonna utilize those
The
same poles that are in the
existing
backyard.
utility poles, the existing utility poles with overhead cables that do not now exist going to individual homes. And I know there's a furor right now about Eversource just changing meters in McKnight, right? And the appearance. The Historic Commission is interested in the appearance of the outside of people's homes, what's visible from the street. So I'm just suggesting a conversation. I'm not saying it's a problem or not a problem. I'm just suggesting a conversation so that we can avoid a problem when you are ready to go into areas that are historic designated areas. That's all I'm suggesting.
Thank you, Ms. Roberta. Appreciate that. All right. Any other questions from any folks inside here? I did want to highlight one last thing that is in this letter. And I see President Fenton is back, is we had a discussion around the conduit systems, and at the last council meeting, Councilor Fenton brought up the size of the conduit and wanting to increase that. And I just want to highlight the fact that GoNetSpeed has come back and I'll let you guys, state what
We're
you're
going to
gonna
oversize it.
they're gonna oversize the conduit after the request that they got. Councilor Fenton, I don't know if you wanted to add anything else to it, because that was one of your big
Yeah,
needs.
I apologize for having to drop there, but yeah, during the last meeting, I expressed concern over the 1.25-inch diameter conduit and requested that they consider increasing the size of that conduit to approximately 3 inches. I understand that they've agreed to do that, which will reduce the likelihood that future carriers or municipal providers would be prejudiced and discouraged from going in that space in the right of way. So I'm satisfied with that, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you.
I have one more question, Mr.
Okay,
Chair.
Councilor Whitfield?
Is over and under just based on the time when they were installing like electricity and stuff, like
Yeah,
they
'cause
started
everything, like
underground?
you go into certain neighborhoods, and I hate to use Old Hill and Upper Hill as an example,
Mhm.
everything's below ground, telephone, electric, gas. Everything's in the street and comes into the house underground. So unless they were gonna put in brand new poles and run it through the neighborhood.
Which would be very
I know the
popular.
answer is no. So, cause a lot of these neighborhoods, you just don't do it, some of them. So a lot of the I hate to say a lot, but probably 35% of the city is below ground whenever we've had discussions about telephone and electric over the years. The rest of it is below ground, so everything is fed, everybody's house comes directly from underground. My house, everything's above ground. You go into another neighborhood, everything's below ground, so it's just where it is right now is what they're gonna be following.
Okay, and the conduit, I'm sorry, I am.
Sir, last
so
question.
Crazy. Okay, last question. A conduit, what is the purpose of it?
That it's just a pipe in the ground.
Pipe in the
A
ground?
pipe in the ground, and by law, when private entities come into the city, they are required to give us access for use of those. The city. They could lease it to somebody privately if they so desired and make a lot of money off of it, but why do you do that to a competitor? For example, we're working right now, our installation that we're doing, we're going in Verizon conduits. We negotiated with them, we're not paying a penny. They're dragging their feet a little bit, but we're working with them. So the conduit system, we always ask to be slightly oversized so that we can use in the future. We could never use a conduit, private conduit, and charge somebody. So it's not like we could, hey, they're doing a great job. They can put all the stuff underground in conduits. We're gonna put it in and we'll charge the people. We can't do that. Once we charge somebody, that goes, that can't happen. We're dealing with, and that was one of the early things with Verizon, we're putting in this system for city facilities, and they kept wanting to make sure we're not paying, we're not charging. So, yeah, it's basically a conduit, pipe system in the ground. And I'm gonna say a majority of their stuff that they're asking for here is like connection from a pole to a pole. You're in a neighborhood, the way the lines are laid out, hey, we need to get from here to here. So we're going through an intersection, we're going from 3 houses, you're talking anywhere from 100 feet to 250 maybe.
And the two ends stick up out of the ground, right?
Yeah.
You can pull a future date without digging up the ground
Right.
either. It also protects what's in there.
So we don't have to keep digging.
Right.
Yeah.
Whether it's handholds or whatever they do. The construction aspect of what they're doing when they make an application to us, the question was today, hey, this gets approved, when can we start applying for permits? probably in a week or so, they could start applying for actual permits from us. And they go through our manual and make sure that the roads get restored. And, we've dealt with Eversource over the years, and I made it clear to them that it's like, hey, we've had restoration issues. When you guys start working, we're gonna make sure that there's restoration is done correctly. So we wanna make sure that we don't get off on the wrong foot. But all the construction standards, how they cut the road, how they backfill, all of that is standard stuff in our manual that they and everybody else is supposed to be following. I'm not gonna say.
This is a shame. I've been approving conduits for all this time.
Yes.
And no, but it was.
A lot of hours in the green space also.
But now we still have a discussion here, and I got one last question after this.
Okay, well, you're welcome.
Do it again.
Are you all set?
Yeah.
So, I know we're running up against time, so Eric has had his hand up. I was gonna offer him the last question, although Charlie just nudged me. So I'm gonna offer you the last question, but Eric, you've got 2 minutes. Even less. Go ahead.
Bummer, I don't hear anything.
Can't hear you.
We don't hear you.
Can you?
Oh, we heard you now.
Oh my goodness, this has been one event after another.
There you go. We can hear you now.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Hear you now.
All right,
after the next.
all right, this is old technology, what can I tell you? I might need one of those underground conduits.
Right.
We're just happy to be able to continue to help the city. Our report went in. We just found out last week that the city was awarded an additional $80,000 or so to help with some implementation pieces that would coincide with this very well. So I won't overspeak. I know my time is limited. I just want everybody to know that there's some more opportunity that came out of what was submitted, and we're happy about that and happy to provide. And this is a grant that goes directly to the city, not to us. Even better there. And so we will work with Sequoia to make sure that things happen the way they're supposed to happen. And we're happy to stay in touch with all of you to make sure that things keep going in the right direction for the city. And it sounds like there's been a lot of awareness raised through this process with Go NetSpeed, which is of great value to the city. So I support all of that.
Got it. Thank you,
Thank you,
Eric.
Frank.
Appreciate it. Charlie, you got the last word.
Yeah, I'm trying to make it as quick as I
Yeah,
can.
you got 3 minutes.
I realize. From way back when we first started this subcommittee, our concern, the people I represent, the folks that have to determine, do we pay this bill or do we buy food to eat? Those people. We don't want to be left out, because so many times the low-hanging fruit get picked and the rest of us starve because there's nothing. So for those really poor, please, we really need to have a build out throughout the city so the poorest of the poor are able to access the internet to perhaps fill out the form the city requires them to fill. That's where I'm at. The second thing is I want a assurance that the city will know exactly where everything you have is. So there'll be no question of whose line goes up here or whose line goes down. That's my
one of the
comment.
things that we make sure, they submit their submitting plans to us, so we know where they're going. They then, and I wanted to make it clear to them that they have the responsibility through DigSafe, that where things are and adjacencies and all those things they have to deal with in the field. So I'm from that, Charlie, the city councilors, that's why I'm the conversation that we had, I'm very comfortable with that.
One last question to our chair.
Uh-oh.
Do we have a need to make a motion to approve?
No,
Okay.
no.
I didn't know if this committee was being asked for that.
All right.
Were you gonna approve it though?
I would.
I hear.
We got you, man. We should do it. Blessing.
Take care of it.
Certainly makes a difference, I'm telling you.
Violence is acceptance.
Thank you.
Well, with that, we are at 5:59. I want to thank everybody who came out to this meeting, and thank you, Go NetSpeed, for being here. And we look forward to chatting with you. Oh, awesome. Thank you guys.
Thanks for having
Thank
us.
you, everybody.
Take care, have a good night.